I was 10 years old, my mom tried to murder me.
She said, drink it, and I said I didn't like it. And she said, you have to drink it to feel better.
Oh, we've got another viral TikTok series to talk about today that is just filled with red flag behavior. It's one of those stories that is not believable until you hear the 911 phone call and then you see the interrogation footage and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. There is a lot in this story that is particularly alarming, especially the result of the trial and especially the alarming, aggressive behavior that is going on as we speak. This story is not even done. So I'm gonna give you the story. So everyone take a breath, a deep breath, real quick, and go. It was Christmas Day, 2006. McKenna was 10 years old. She was staying with her father in Idaho, and she was flying in to stay with her mother and have Christmas with her mother and her brother and her sister. A couple things you need to know about the mom. At this point, she had very serious mental health issues, and McKenna even knew this at the time. But at this point, her mother was the safest person in the world to her. Well, that night, she was having a toothache, so she told her mom, and her mom went downstairs to get something to remedy it. But she was gone for quite a long time, so she started getting concerned. So McKenna walked on downstairs, saw her mother at the computer, walked up to her, and her mother panicked, just closing out tabs. Don't look over my shoulder. And McKenna is just like, I'm just trying to get you to care about my tooth. And then McKenna looked over and saw on the counter that there were 2 glasses of liquid there. So she was like, oh, is this my medicine? And her mom was like, don't even worry about nothing. You know, just real suspicious. But at this point, McKenna had no idea what was going on and was just hurting and frustrated. So she's like, screw this, I'm going back up to bed. So she went to sleep. A little bit later, her mother woke her up and handed her a glass of liquid and said, hey, this is a mixture of medicine and Capri Sun. Please drink it, it'll make you feel better.
When I tasted a little bit, it was like the film on a pill when it dissolves on your tongue just a little bit. That taste will forever be etched in my mind. It was the most disgusting taste. To this day, I don't like taking medicine because film powder taste that you have on your tongue, I had that times 1,000. It was so intense, so disgusting. I remember taking a sip and being like, Mom, I don't like that.
Oh, that's not medicine. That's medicine. That's a bad joke. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. So she drank it reluctantly, lay there for a while, and everything went black.
Waking up in this huge, giant white room with my dad next to me, which I knew I had just left my dad in Idaho, so I didn't understand how I was waking up with my dad next to me. And then I looked down at my hands and I had all of these IVs. I was hooked up to so many machines. I was looking around, I was in a hospital bed. But the last memory I had was laying my head on a pillow in my mom and I's bed.
McKenna looked over to the door and saw that there were 2 armed police officers at the door guarding it. And there was just this weird, somber energy in the room. And she was just like, this might be the worst toothache that has ever ached. I'm about to get a fortune from the tooth fairy. Her dad looked really upset, and McKenna just had no idea the gravity of the situation. She was still asking about Christmas and where her siblings were, when she was able to go home. And then a detective came in and said, hey, McKenna, we'd like to ask you some questions if you're feeling up for it. That's when she learned about what happened. Her mother had a manic episode and fed her between 50 and 100 pills. After a while, McKenna stopped breathing. Then her mother panicked and dialed 911, and then that's when everybody came to rescue her. And her mother immediately told the police what she had done.
This is where my mom tries to defend herself and say, I saved my daughter's life.
Oh, she's got a touch of the schism. Oh, she's got it.
Because she called 911 when she came out of her manic. However, she was the one who gave me the medication to take my life in the first place.
McKenna was inches away from death, so she was flown into Seattle Children's Hospital, where she had 3 Narcan reversals. Now, for those who do not know, if someone has an overdose, just 1 dose of Narcan is enough to save a fully grown adult, typically. 10-year-old McKenna had 3 of them, which is a lot of Narcan. So at this point, the doctors just didn't think she was going to make it. And even if she did, they didn't know if she would have brain problems, trouble walking. They had no idea. Miraculously, McKenna woke up completely fine. It was just a pure miracle. Everyone was incredibly relieved. But that relief did not last very long. for McKenna. A social worker came in, and McKenna was like, hey, am I gonna go see my family now? Everything, we good?
And then she told me, you can't go with your parents. You won't be seeing your mom. She just kept delaying that. It's gonna be a while till you see your mom. It's gonna be a while till you see your mom. And you can't go with your dad. Here I am, a 10-year-old, like, okay, well, where am I gonna go?
Because at this point, McKenna didn't understand that her mother just tried to kill her. She had no concept of reality or what was going on. So the social worker passed over a black trash bag full of clothes that were not McKenna's and told her to get dressed and that she was going to be staying with a foster family for the time being. Did not tell McKenna why this was. The reality was both sides of the family were trying to fight over custody of who would get McKenna, and also the police were trying to determine who was safe and who wasn't. So it was too volatile of a situation for a 10-year-old to be in, so they had her stay with a foster family. Nevertheless, McKenna had no idea what was going on. It seemed pointless to her. For a 10-year-old, this is almost impossible to deal with. So on the car ride there, she had a complete mental breakdown, started screaming her lungs out, begging for answers, and the social worker just said, I can't give those to you right now. I'm not allowed to. For the next week, she had to stay with this foster family that she had no idea who they were, no idea when she would be able to even go home. So for the next week, McKenna stayed with these complete strangers, wanted nothing to do with them, would not say much of anything to them, did not trust them. Finally, at the end of the week, the courts decided that her father would be the one to have custody over her, so she flew in to Idaho to stay with her dad. Her dad, however, was a drug addict. He was addicted to opioids. After a short amount of time, it was clear that he was not able to take care of her properly. So she then went to stay with her aunt and uncle. And her aunt and uncle were great. They provided her a very loving and safe home, but she was never able to fully connect with them.
And of course, I had amazing blessings in my life at that time to do so many things for my aunt and uncle, and we had a stable home, but when you're in somebody else's home, it never truly feels like home to you. You still feel like a stranger.
Nevertheless, this is where McKenna spent the rest of her childhood. She graduated and went to college and then got married and had a family of her own. And I would love to say that this is where the story ends. I would love to say that the mother went to prison for the rest of her life and then never bothered McKenna ever again. Unfortunately, neither one of those things happened. Well, I'm reading some Dean. I thought we were done. Got curled up with the coons for nothing. This video is sponsored by Growth Therapy. I've been in therapy for 2.5 years now, and not only has it drastically improved my mental health, but I feel like I understand myself a lot better now. But the problem is, traditional therapy is getting harder and harder these days. It's expensive, wait lists are just brutal, and then finding someone who takes your insurance, it's like its own job. And that's where Growth Therapy comes in. It's a modern mental health platform with over 25,000 vetted therapists that you can choose from based on your needs. They work with over 125 insurance plans. Most sessions average around $21, and some folks pay $0 depending on their coverage. There's no subscriptions, there's no wait lists. You can book as little as 2 days, including nights and weekends. Another thing I really love, all of the therapists run their own practices. They're not just someone clocking in for the day, they care. They show that they care. So here's what I rate Growth Therapy. Growth Therapy is great because it is a quicker way to find a therapist, and it's very efficient and it's affordable. Head to the link in my description to learn more about Growth Therapy, or you can just scan the QR code on screen. Thank you to Growth Therapy for sponsoring. Before we get into the second act of this insanity, we need to look at the evidence because McKenna provided actually a ton of it. The first one is the actual 911 phone call.
My father and I just took a bunch of violent pills.
Who took the pills?
My daughter and I.
You both took a lot of pills?
Yeah.
Deliberately?
Like over 50.
The second was McKenna's own testimony. She did this child forensic interview shortly after the whole incident happened, and she just essentially corroborated everything that the mother told the police.
And then when she handed you the drink, she made the comment that she made.
Yeah, she said, drink it, and I said I didn't like it. And she said, you have to drink it to feel better.
There was also crime scene photos that showed that after the mother gave her the medicine, she moved things around the house. She was watching TV. She took a bath. Basically, acted like everything was completely fine. But the last piece of evidence is probably the most damning when it comes to like having any sort of defense about this, because I mean, it's about as premeditated as you can possibly get. And it also kind of paints a picture as to maybe why the mother did this.
Right there, that's the last will and testament is what she titled it. It was basically a document that stated where to put our ashes, where to cremate me, where our stuff was going to go.
Oh dear.
You are such a horrible person with so many abusive behaviors, and I'm afraid of what would happen to McKenna if I didn't take her to heaven with me. She is finally, after 10 years, safe from you and your mental and physical abuse. My father was never physically abusive to me.
Oh dear. Now my girlfriend and I, we watch a lot of true crime together. One thing that I have learned is that if there is an opportunity for a suspect to take the insanity plea, they're gonna take it 10 times out of 10. And that is exactly what McKenna's mother did. She pleaded insanity at the trial, and the judge sort of agreed with her. They also took into consideration the fact that she immediately called 911, which kind of maybe spoke to more of the impulsive nature of it that they were claiming is what it was. It wasn't. So she immediately tried to right her wrong. The judge also acknowledged that she did have some actual mental health issues going on. So she got a pretty light sentence. She only got 12 years. Basically, she was not going away forever. And I'm nervous. So 8 years went by, and McKenna turned 18, and she decided that she was going to drop the no contact order that she had with her mother and go visit her in prison and try and get some closure on this and maybe get some answers. So she drove all the way there, sat down with her mother at prison, talked to her, and did not get what she wanted. Her mother did not listen to her when she started explaining how it affected her, completely redirected and started talking about her own feelings and how bad it was in prison. So 3 hours later, McKenna left prison just completely hopeless and devastated, and also not knowing the horrible chain reaction of events that were about to transpire because of this meeting. The mother was seething from this. She hated the fact that she had been called out and felt like she had been singled out and not forgiven by her daughter. So she started sending McKenna emails. And this is the first email that she sent.
I wonder if you are, when you are talking to people about what happened, that you stop and try to look at it from my perspective. Do you take into account that it was never my intent to hurt you or myself? The reality is that we both would have gone to heaven. And in that moment and that second in our lives, that to me was the only way to keep you safe.
I'm more irritated than a tick on the Tin Man.
I don't have a major mental illness, McKenna. They laugh here at the topic of that because I, in no way, not on any medications, come even close to any diagnosis, with the exception of depression and anxiety. But again, look where I live.
She went on to basically say that she was strung out on pills and she wasn't thinking clearly and she had no control over the situation and she was in prison for something that she just couldn't handle. So basically just avoided all responsibility, and she kept sending McKenna emails, one after the other, rambling nonstop. It was just all day and night. And the mom even started blaming McKenna for a lot of things. Like, she rejected the handmade blanket she made her. She also said that she was just cold and calloused and unforgiving and just really mean. So McKenna decided, you know what, I'm gonna go see my mother one last time. This will be the last time I ever see her or talk to her ever again. And she went back to prison to just get one last attempt at closure and to tell her mother that I don't want to speak to you ever again. That only made her mother angrier. So she started emailing even more, trying to get more control over the entire situation. And then as she was about to be released from prison, she called McKenna and said, hey, I'm about to be released and I would love for you to be there. McKenna denied. She said she was going to be on a mission trip in Peru at the time of her release, and her mother hated that. Can the prison guards just shoot a tranquilizer dart in her butt cheek and shut her up? She needs a good old trank in the stank. So her mom was released from prison, and now she was calling and texting McKenna non-stop.
So it got to the point where I finally had to block her. Like, she was getting so upset with me if I wasn't responding in a timely manner, if I wasn't always on my phone, if I wasn't communicating with her in the way that she had expected.
Now that she was free in the world, she was ramping everything up. There was an instance where she went by McKenna's grandmother's house and dropped off 9 huge tote boxes full of things, like McKenna's childhood belongings, sensitive private medical records, legal court documents that were accusing McKenna's family members of horrible, sickening things. Just a lot of stuff that were clearly put in there to deliberately cause harm or distress to McKenna and the whole family. She then started dating McKenna's co-worker's uncle. This was a calculated move to try and establish control and get into McKenna's life. And shortly after the relationship became official, the uncle sent the co-worker this text.
Merry Christmas. I'm at Mom's and wanted to touch base. Blank is with me. And not sure how you feel about that. I know you and McKenna are friends. Know this though. Blank is a wonderful, smart, giving, loving person. I wouldn't be with her elsewise. I love her with all my heart. She is everything to me, and I hope you can welcome her into the family. Mind you, we don't even know if she's officially divorced yet. She has really paid a heavy price for her bad decision 15 years ago, almost to the day. Reiterating that clearly it's the anniversary. She's going to be around for a while, so judge not lest thy be judged. Love you lots, your uncle.
This relationship did not last very long because a few days after this uncle sent this text, he was found dead from an apparent homicidal overdose, as the police called it. And by the time that they had the funeral, McKenna's mother already had a brand new boyfriend. Nope. And one day, McKenna received a phone call from her dad. And her dad said, hey, so your mother and I have been in contact again. And he said that he had been getting a lot of questions from her mother about her whereabouts, what she was doing in her personal life. And McKenna was like, well, what did you tell her? And he said that he had been telling her she had just paid off $60,000 of debt and just a lot of personal stuff. Not cool. So the mother's manipulation tactics are working. And once she saw that they were working, she started to ramp it up even further with the dad and said that she would like to have a relationship with him. At this point, the dad is remarried. So that's not possible unless you're trying to have an affair, which she was. The dad at this point realized, oh, this is crazy. So he said no, which is her mother's favorite word. So he started getting harassing phone calls and texts and threats and everything, so he just stopped all contact with her. This is currently an ongoing thing right now. As of this week, McKenna is trying to renew her restraining order that she has on her mother, and we might end up needing a part 2 to this because this is apparently not over and it's currently ramping up as we speak. I really hope we do not need a part 2 for McKenna's sake, but it might be happening. I don't know. But for now, we're going to move on to the next story. Click the box in the top left-hand corner, and I'll tell you about a TikTok story that just happened about how this mother says her husband left her for her daughter. Yeah, right. It's, it's just as nuts. So click there, and I'll see you over there. All right, that's my time. Toodles.